All right, so here we are for the 2024 GASGAS launch here. So we're talking about the GASGAS MC, EC and EX models. We're down in Chucky Sanders' beautiful property in Three Bridges in Victoria. Here's our insight into what we thought. All right, where do you start with these bikes? So these is the first new major generation change for GASGAS since being bought by the KTM group. So we're talking about a totally different motorcycle to what you've seen if you've owned a previous GASGAS before. We're talking about new frame, new bodywork, major changes to engine for 2-stroke and 4, and overall, really cool package. So the Explore fork, if you're one of the guys that they're pitching these bikes to as a GASGAS owner, a little bit more entry level, a little bit more of a fun, playful rider, a bit more of a weekend warrior, less of a race rider, this Explore fork's still really good. They're beefier than they've been in the past, and the front to back balance with the new shock in the enduro bikes makes a really nice overall package. So sticking with the enduro bikes, we're talking about all new bodywork. So foot peg, shrouds, the whole lot, seat, super comfortable rider triangle across the back, and just really nice. Like it almost brings what the old GASGAS felt a little bit outdated from an ergo's perspective. This feels like a lot firmer, a lot sit flatter on the bike, just more aggressive riding style, which seems to suit everyone. Like we had guys here today from ex-professionals to clubman guys like myself and some guys that are really new to it, and this bike is kind of for everyone, and being a little bit cheaper than the other bikes is a really nice entry level in, whether you're new to bikes or coming back to bikes after not riding for a few years, or just someone that wants to mix it up and ride a red bike. Like, these GASGASs are really impressive. So jumping over to the motocross models, big changes across the board. So both bikes, motocross and enduro, now share the same frame. So we're talking about a stiffer frame that they've been able to take on the 4-strokes, been able to condense all the motors down to be able to fit within one frame, and all the engine mounts line up. So we're talking about a radically different motocross bike to what we've seen in the past for GASGAS. A lot more stiffer, makes it a lot easier to point it into ruts, a lot more nimble. Like, it had a lot less flex to it than the previous bike did. That comes with a little bit of loss of comfort. So if you ride like really hard, square-edged, hard packed soils, you're gonna feel a little bit more rigidity in this frame. But if you're riding stuff like we did today, where really kind of deep sand and really fluffy, fun stuff, this bike was so good, because other bikes I've ridden in the past have been a bit hesitant when you're coming into a section, there's heaps of ruts, but this you could just point it straight and you knew that it was just gonna hold its own and wasn't gonna flop around on you. It was really precise and made it really easy to drop it into ruts and rail turns. You just felt like you had an extra level of control with this bike. So not only that, the 2-strokes are totally different for this new generation. So in the past, we've had a mixture of motocross bikes running carbies and enduro bikes running the TPI system, transfer port injection, a fuel injection system that brought in a couple of years ago by the KTM group. So for this year, for the first time, they're running an all new system. So the TBI system, which, if you're like me and you've been missing the carby feel, the real raspy 2-stroke feel that we've all come to love over the years, kind of lost that a little bit with the TPI system. So it's a hell of a lot better with this TBI system. The enduro bikes are a lot more punchier, a lot more, you ride them more on the pipe more than you did in the past with lugging it. Just feel like almost like a perfectly jetted two-stroke all the time. That combined with a new power valve, so they've got an electronic power valve now, which paired with the fuel injection system just gives the bike a lot more control, and with the electronics working together, you just end up with a bike that's just a lot more complete package. And especially on the enduro bikes, you maintain the ability to be able to have a separate oil and fuel tank. So when you're out on a ride, drain your fuel tank, you come along, fill it up at the servo, keep rolling. So stuff like that is just so cool and makes life that much easier. Motocross two-strokes run the same thing, but they're still premix, and man, they're a hell of a lot of fun. They were probably my pick of the bunch for the motocross bikes this time round. The 125 was surprisingly really torquey, had plenty of pull, still had to be in the right gear, but man, it was so much fun. And you always feel 20% better than you are because the thing's absolutely screaming. 250 two-stroke on the motocross side was also so much fun. In the past, I've been a little bit hesitant on 250 two-strokes. They've been super aggressive, kind of want to rip my arms off, but this thing was like the perfect mix of being aggressive, being fun, but then you could just cruise around on it. It wasn't pumping your arms up, it wasn't it wasn't super aggressive and making it hard to ride. I felt like I could do lap after lap and still have a good old time on it. And then there's cross-country bikes. So that's the EX models. So perfect for you guys that like riding cross-country events like Transmoto events on private property. Perfect for you guys that have rec rego, are lucky enough to have rec rego. You can take one of these bikes and with minimal effort get them out in the bush, and they're a hell of a lot of fun. They get the new fork that you would have seen on the KTM and Husqvarna enduro models. So the exact closed cartridge spring fork, which has just got a lot more hold up in it, a lot more of a firmer ride compared to the Explore. So targeted more of the higher end faster guys or heavier faster guys that will push the bike a lot further. So with that, heaps better on the harder hits, perfect for what this bike's designed for. You can take it from the bush straight to the moto track and mix the thing together. So EX is a super exciting line if you're lucky enough to have tracks at home or want to mix it up with a bit of both with the motocross and enduro. We unfortunately didn't have them here to test this ride, but was lucky enough in Italy to test the aftermarket map switch. You get the traction control and quick shifter on the 4-stroke models, both motocross, works on both the motocross, cross country and enduro. And for not a lot of money, a couple $100 we're talking about, it's really, really worth it. So you run your standard map, which you get, and then you've got map 2, which is basically an ignition map, mapping change that makes the bikes more aggressive, which is really cool when you have days like today. And I wish we could have tested it, where conditions are a little bit heavy, a little bit boggy, a little bit sandy. You can open the bike up a little bit more. It's like almost like a halfway to go into like an exhaust system. So that's really cool. We're able to test the quick shifter over in Italy as well, which was really exciting and really cool. If you've ridden a KTM Husky GASGAS adventure bike, you know all about the quick shifters. So yeah, clutchless shifting, awesome for those applications where you're fanging down fire roads or anything open, or if you're a desert racer kind of guy. So good because you can just hold it wide and keep shifting to the gearbox. So that's really cool. So yeah, if you're interested in one of these and go down that path, it's definitely worth looking into the map selector switch, and it's a big change for only a couple $100. 4-stroke models across the motocross range are also super impressive. So we're talking about the 250F, 350F and 450F. Similar capacities that we all know and love across the motocross range, but everything's just had some pretty big motor changes that just make the bikes run cleaner, more efficient, and just give it a little bit more go. So everything you've liked about the 250, 350, 450 in the past, they retain. But with the new frame, new ergos, updates to suspension, the whole package of the GASGAS is just so much nicer, so much cleaner, and just more fun to ride. GASGAS is all about the fun. They haven't not delivered on these bikes at all. We've had the best time out here ripping around on these bikes. And yeah, if you're a 4-stroke fan, well worth checking out one of these 250, 350s or 450s. All right, the brake tech, brake and clutch system's been a little bit of a sticking point for people on GASGAS in the past, but I've got to say they've done a lot of work to these brake and clutch system, everything down to the lever shape of these new bikes. And for me, in a clubman level, they got plenty enough bite, both in the dry conditions and then today we're super slippery where admittedly you're not grabbing a handful of brake, you're trying to flow and not lock up the brake, but even in those slippery conditions, it was really easy to modulate brake pressure, both front and rear, and being quite boggy and slippery, you were on the clutch a fair bit. And clutch was awesome, super light, super easy to slip and plenty of control. So yeah, if you're someone who's been a bit iffy about brake tech in the past, don't let these brake test system write it off. It's really good and they've done a lot of changes to this. So yeah, get out and try it before you don't. Not only that, GASGAS has worked really hard on making these bikes even easier to work on than they had in the past. So things like commonality across engine bolts. So you no longer have to lay all your engine bolts out when you take a clutch cover off or an ignition cover off. They're all the same size, so if you're a bit of a hacker at home and don't mind having a go doing your own maintenance, it's even easier. Little things like they put a little arrow where all the bolts that are servicing, so oil changes, anything where there's a crush washer or anything like that, you know that that's going to need a new crush washer after you've done your maintenance. And they've even gone to the effort of running torque specs on your key bolts that you know need to be a certain torque spec, so you don't have to go chasing that manual with oily hands when you mid oil change. It's all there, you just keep going, and hopefully that makes it working on bikes even easier than they were in the past. So that's our top line insight on the 2024 GASGAS range. So much to talk about here, so many awesome models, but overall, if you got any interest in riding one of these GASGASes, they're not just the forgotten about cousin of a KTM or Husqvarna anymore. These bikes are right up there. They're now on the same level, so year by year you'll see similar changes across the board with these bikes. So do yourself a favour, get out, get to a demo day where you can ride one of these bikes, and yeah, pick your favourite because you won't be disappointed. These bikes are so much fun. A little bit cheaper than the other bikes out there, but you don't really lose anything for the price. So yeah, awesome bikes, awesome opportunity to be down here in Victoria to test them. Can't wait to ride them more. Keep a lookout for more of our content on these GASGAS bikes to come.